How's it going, everybody? This is the Figuring Out Finance Podcast, episode number 16, continuing on with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. My name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I'll be your host for today. So before we get started, go ahead and check out the website, figuringitoutfinance.com, where you can find all the links to be able to sign up for my newsletter. You'll find my socials, TikTok, Instagram, and getting the YouTube started here pretty soon. And you can check out all the blogs that I've written so far on finance, travel, hacking, how to save more, and a lot more on the website. So go check it out. Let me know what you think. If you have comments, go take the survey as well. So I have things to talk about on here. So jumping right into today's topic, it's going to be Chapter 6 from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the title of the chapter is Work to Learn, Don't Work for Money. So what that means is, and what the main point of the chapter is going to be, working to learn skills rather than just working a job for the money, because you're getting something out of it. So you're learning and taking that skills from your job. So what are you doing in your day that you're able to take into your future business or your life or your personal life, relationships, anything? Or are you just sitting in that job because you're looking for a paycheck at the end of the day? So a little bit how this relates to my life is I've had 2 jobs within the last 2 years, and unfortunately they didn't work out, but what I was able to take from them is what I can learn and take into my own business, and I have. So my first job, working with a race team, it was mostly the working hard that I was able to take from that, because they were long days out in the sun, 100 degrees, 110 degrees out in Nashville, shoes melting to the track, and being not on a lot of sleep, and then the organization and the planning that you had to do to put on events. So I was able to take that and be able to apply that to my future business. If I have events, what am I looking at? Can I work hard if I really need to? In real estate, am I going to stay up till 2 a.m. painting walls? Yeah, I can absolutely do that. That's not a problem. So I'm able to understand that that's something I can do and take it into my real estate. And then my second job, I worked for 2 people who were just in a startup company and just had systems on systems and very, very organized. And they had to be, because it was 2 people running a business. So you're able to learn the systems and how they function in their business. And unfortunately, that didn't work out either. But I'm able to take some of their systems and ideas and implement it into my own business, whether it's real estate, the podcast, or figuring out finance on the socials. So being able to take something from those jobs and apply it to my own business, to my own life, and understand, maybe understand why the job didn't work out, but how am I able to take these lessons and use it for my own business and life? So let's jump into the chapter here. It'll be Chapter 6. And the chapter starts out with Robert in an interview. So the interviewer is an educated reporter looking to sell more books as an author, but struggling and staying with her job at the newspaper. So Robert shows her a copy of his book where it says best-selling author rather than best writing. And the reporter can't really understand this because she's very educated, went to school, has a really direct writing style, and obviously is a very good writer if she's working for a paper. But the problem is she's not able to sell books, and she's not understanding what Robert's telling her, that she needs to learn to go take sales classes, marketing classes, maybe another job to be able to sell her books and live the life she wants to live. But the reporter gets mad and leaves because she doesn't want to learn how to take a sales class to learn to sell those books. So Robert then makes the comment of saying how the world is full of smart and talented, educated and gifted people, and they're all around us, and they're only one skill away from great wealth. So in this example here, that reporter could take a sales and marketing job, work in PR, and she's going to have so many more outlets for her book to be able to get her name out there and live the life she wants to live, since she wants to write books. And in my personal life, that's where something I keep thinking about, where are these opportunities around me and what skills do I need to get better at? So organization, marketing, all these different things, sales as well. It's all comes together, and learning those different areas of a business are going to make you the money that you want to make. So when it comes to money, the only skill most people know is to work hard. So going back to what Robert said, they're only one skill away from great wealth. So if your only skill is to just work hard, nose to the grindstone, you're not going to be able to do much there. You need to start working smarter. So diving into the expired listings calls that I'm doing now, listening to a lot of Pace Morby, just how creative his mindset is on how to buy a house from somebody. It's just insane how he's learned how to be able to do this. And it's not really that complicated. It's just him understanding different things. He understands sales, he understands marketing, he understands other people's mindsets. And those are all three different things that I just said that you have to learn individually. So he's gotten so good at that, and he's made a ton of money, built huge businesses, and does a lot of speaking on that. So Bigger Pockets has also done a lot for me, as they have a bunch of different books in real estate to where I'm able to learn different parts of this business. So I started out understanding the whole real estate kind of idea, and then you dive into the specifics. So then it was house hacking, which I ended up doing. So the BRRRR method, so buy, rent, rehab, refinance, repeat. That's what I'm looking to do kind of with this house, as I did kind of like a live-in BRRRR. And then looking for either a flip or my next opportunity. So it'll probably be creative, and that's why I'm looking the Pace Morby route. So, and then that dives into creative financing and house hacking. You just have to work smarter instead of just working hard. Put more tools in your tool belt. So the most important specialized skills that Robert talks about are sales and marketing. So this ties into the real life as how well can you sell or market yourself? That's an interview. How are you going to come off to that employer if you're looking for a job if you can't sell yourself? If you don't know what you're good at, then how are you going to be able to tell that to somebody else? What are the skills you have that's going to be able to benefit that company? And then there are so many great business ideas with no marketing or sales. So being able to have that skill, go to some company that's doing well, but they're just not quite there yet. You're able to understand that and take your skill set to that company, make them a lot of money, and they're going to want to keep you around because you're doing great things for them. So one of the stories Robert talks about in here is the McDonald's story. So it's pretty simple. You've probably heard it before, but everybody can make a better burger than McDonald's, but you probably can't beat their system. So think about a little diner compared to McDonald's. So this diner has great burgers, but they're not able to scale because of their one person manning the grill or their cook. He's just that good. But McDonald's, they have systems in place that they're able to just put people in, take people out, and it's just a system for them. And they're able to do that with very little training, and you're able to scale your business that way. But the little diner is not going to be able to scale because it's all based on one person. It's not based on a system. So that's an interesting thing to kind of sit on right there. So if you're in your business, does your business revolve only around you? And if it does, how are you going to be able to change that? Because that's going to be a really, really tough business to sell, as I started diving into that a little bit. Because if a business is centered around one person, if you take out that person or if they go on a vacation for a month, the business falls apart. So when do you know you have a business is that you can walk away for a year and everything's still running fine. So how do you get to that point? So moving on here, what direction are you moving towards, and who are you looking up to? So you need to be able to find mentors who are doing the thing you want to do, reflect the values that you have, and live the life that you want to live. So this isn't necessarily in the book, but he kind of referenced it here in this chapter. But Robert's quote from the book was, "Most teachers trying to teach lack real world experience." So where are you finding that, or who are you looking up to that reflects the values that you have in living the life you want to live? What does their marriage look like? What does their business look like? And who are you looking up to? Because the 5 people you hang around the most is the person you're going to be. So whether you're around in real estate, if you're looking to get into real estate, if you're hanging out with 5 wholesalers or 4 wholesalers, you're going to be the 5th. If you're hanging around 5 real estate agents, you're probably going to be the 5th. And then in life, if you're hanging around 4 guys who are doing drugs, you're probably going to be the 5th. So changing your environment to better your life, where are you looking to get better in your life? Who are the people you're hanging around, and who are you looking up to? Whether that's music, whether that's social media, anything. It's just an interesting way to start looking at life here. So another thing Robert mentions in here is the hardest part of running a company is managing people. So I've heard this from quite a few different business owners and seeing it in a small business. Managing people is the hardest part. Like, how are you going to keep those people happy? And that's something that I felt like I was really good at and going to be really, really good at in my first job. And I just wasn't given that opportunity to be able to run it the way that I wanted. But I've heard this from Anthony Damani, who's the owner of Skip Barber. So if you don't know Skip Barber, they're a racing school, and they're just growing and expanding, and being able to get to know him, he told me the same thing. It's like the hardest part of running a company is trying to keep people from telling you how bad of a person you are. Because if they have a bad experience, they're going to go and tell everybody they know about that person, when that's just not true. I gotten to know him over the summer in over 6 weeks, and he was a great guy, helped me in so many different ways because I was, genuine to him, and he was genuine to me back. And being able to get along with his employees, we got along really well. But someone who didn't want to fit in his system is going to go and talk bad. So being able to manage the people is very, very important to running that business, and it's easily the hardest part. So another thing Robert goes on to talk about here is a job. So learning skills in that job you're talking about, or what we're talking about here, learning the skills in the job is the goal, because job is an acronym for just over broke. So workers work hard enough to not be fired, and the owners pay just enough so that workers won't quit. So that's why you have to ask for the raise, because they're paying you just enough so that you won't quit. So you're going to have to keep going for a raise. And what happens if you're at that bottom peg and you've been there for 2 years working really hard, and they say no? So what do? You go look for another job that has pay, and then you fall into that same situation. So instead of looking at it as working for that paycheck, just working for a job, you have to be working for the skills that you're learning from that job. Because education is more valuable than money in the long run. You're able to learn the skills from the business, take some of their systems and processes, ideas, and be able to implement it into your own business. So if you're creative and educated, you're going to be able to see those opportunities in that business and kind of go into that role with that mindset of, okay, what am I learning? Am I learning sales, marketing? Am I learning how to manage people? All of those go into managing your own business. So are you learning this to be able to use it at a later time? And that's something that I'm really trying to do with the first 2 jobs that I had. I felt like I was going to be great at managing people, didn't get the opportunity to do that. And then I was, forced to move on. So that, and being able to break down that job a little bit, if we were to introduce the system or a system into how it was being run, it would have been running a lot better. It wasn't being run very efficiently. It was all dependent on one person instead of having a system of a group going to one person who then goes to the top person to make that final decision. So it was, just a matter of hierarchy and who wants the power there. But, creating a system and how communication rolls, that's a system. That's why McDonald's works. So one of the last questions Robert talks about in here is, where is this daily activity taking you? So what are you doing in your day, whether it's health, fitness, your job, your community, or your relationships? What are you doing in those areas every single day, and where are they taking you? So in your health, are you coming home, grabbing snacks and a beer and watching TV? Or are you going to the gym? Are you reading a book to get better and better yourself? Are you going out and hanging out with people? And what are you doing with those people? Are you going to a real estate meetup, or are you just going to a bar to drink? Really interesting to be able to dive into your own life there. And, the daily activities. Are you just listening to music in the car, or are you listening to a podcast to get better? That's something that really changed for me. I barely listen to music anymore. I started listening to podcasts because there's so many little nuggets in there. Like, I pretty much listen to all the Bigger Pockets podcasts just because, it may not be a topic that I'm super interested in or apply to me, but I found out that there's a 15-second clip in there that applies to me, and that has changed my whole mindset. And I found that in books as well, How to Speak to Anyone by Leo Lowndes. I wasn't super interested in that book. It really wasn't for me, but there was one quote in there. I think it was one sentence that changed my whole mindset towards being able to speak to people, and it was just talk. I don't think this is the exact quote, but if you never ask, the answer is always no. And that changed my whole mindset towards everything, whether it's my relationships, working, trying to buy houses, anything. And then Robert finishes off with this quote, "For things to change, first I must change." So what is this daily activity that you're doing? If you're in your environment and feeling stuck, start to have that mindset of, for things to change, first you must change. So I'm going to leave it right there on that. And it was an interesting show. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you're still listening, go check out figuringitoutfinance.com, where I have all my blogs. Keep listening to the podcasts, where I'm going to be doing some different things, hopefully, here in the future, different topics, and continuing on the money and the travel hacking to be able to help benefit the most. So if you have an idea for a podcast or a clip or anything, send it to me on the socials at Figuring It Out Finance on Instagram. I'm on TikTok as well. Email me at figuringitoutfinance@gmail.com. Anything you want to do to be able to support, I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.